Good afternoon, Basil Zemplis here with breaking news. 7 News can confirm West Coast Eagles legend John Worsfold is set to announce he's leaving the club. The Premier coach and captain is expected to announce in a short time that he will not seek to have his contract renewed. We're going to take you live to Subiaco Oval where, as you can see, they are gathering for a press conference which is expected to get underway in just a few moments' time. Of course, we'll have a full report on today's announcement in our bulletins at 5 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. I'll be back very shortly to take you live to that press conference at Patterson's. Stay with us. Good afternoon again. I'm Basil Zemplis. We interrupt our regular programming with breaking news, and it involves West Coast Eagles legend John Worsfold. As we can see, Trevor Nisbett, the CEO of the West Coast Eagles, announcing live that John Worsfold is stepping down as coach. Let's go to Trevor Nisbett now.
Over to you, Will. I think most people are aware by now, but this morning John came in and informed Trevor and myself that he is choosing not to continue as coach of our football club. That's obviously a sad day for the club, given if you think about the fact that John's been with us for 24 of our 27 years, either as a player or as a coach, and is an absolute legend of this club. So while that's sad news for us, I think it's important that John recognised that he didn't have the energy and the passion and the enthusiasm and the emotion to keep going. And I think it's important everyone here recognises that coaching a football side at AFL level is an outstandingly difficult commitment, and he's been doing that with extraordinary success for over 12 years now. And while it's sad for us, it's obviously a new opportunity for us to build the next part of our future. John, as usual, and both Niz and I are huge admirers of John, is a man of great integrity. He's always said to us when he felt it wasn't the right time for him to continue, he would make that call. And when he talked to both of us, he very clearly said that from his point of view, now is the right time for him to move on. And he also felt that the club was in a good position to put a new coach into place. So while we're sad, I think it's also important that we celebrate the contribution this man has made to our club. You'll be looking at this club in 100 years' time, and Worsfold will be right up there as one of the people that helped build this great organisation and helped make it the sort of organisation it is. So Niz, do you want to add anything?
Oh no, I think we should just open it up to questions. I think Al summarised it pretty well.
Alan, did John come to this conclusion by himself, or was it after discussions with yourself and Trevor?
Absolutely. I guess within the football club, we made a decision at the start of the year that we'd sort out the coaching at the end of the year, and that was something we stuck to despite pressure from various media outlets that we should do it sooner or later. John has certainly made that decision himself. We've talked to John right through about his future, and the board in fact has a process in place that would have concluded by middle of September as to determining the next coach's future, or the next coach of this football club. John made that decision independently of the club, and again, that's something that you need to talk to him as to the reasons. But he's basically said, hey, time is right for somebody else to step into the chair.
Why isn't he here?
John chose not to. He's doing odd things like picking up kids from school and telling his parents and ringing his friends and doing things like that. He probably thought there was a slightly higher priority than visiting with all your friends here.
Does it put you behind the 8 ball in the search for a new club, new coach?
I don't think so. If you think the fact that John's been here for 12 years, we got it pretty right last time. We're just delighted with the contribution he's made over those 12 years as a coach. He's taken us to a premiership. We've been in the finals for a lot of those 12 years. We're now in a process where we'll put together a process to find our next coach. And frankly, we haven't started that because we hadn't finished our determination on whether John would be the coach for the next couple of years. So that's the process we'll put in place. I'd be quite comfortable, and again, we haven't talked a lot about it, but we should have that in place by the middle of October.
Are you shocked by the decision given? John said it just a couple of weeks ago, he's sort of still searching for a 2-year deal.
Yeah, I talk to John regularly. Like the rest of it, he's got a lot of things that play into that decision, and I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised, if that makes sense to you. You can rationalise it either way, and at the end of the day, it was a comfortable decision for John. When I talked to him this morning and Niz talked to him this morning, he was in a good frame of mind and he's making it for the right decisions. And again, I want to emphasise that one of the things that's important to John is the future of this football club. So he always said to us that he would step down when he felt it was right for him, but also when it was right for the football club. And he's just got so much integrity and care for this club. We always recognise that. So it was a very amicable discussion. He's in a good space, and obviously now we've got to find, and hopefully we're as successful as we were as the last time in finding a super coach.
Do you think it all changed for him in the past 3 weeks on the field? Do you think 3 weeks ago he probably was looking to go on?
I don't think so. I think if you're picking a coach for the next, what's a normal coach span, 4 to 5 years, you don't do it on a 3-week interval. He was obviously disappointed in the last 3 weeks. But no, I don't think that was a factor in his decision. He's had lots of things to think about, but we certainly wouldn't make a decision on a coach based on a 3-week performance. Absolutely not.
Alan, did you try and talk him out of it?
No. We've talked long and hard. John and Niz and I have a very good relationship, and we've talked a lot over the years, and certainly during this season, given it was the end of his coaching contract. And at the end of the day, he's a very thoughtful man and a very careful man, and he made a very careful decision, which we accepted.
Was the board or the executive's confidence in John rattled at all by that last 3 weeks? It's not often in West Coast history they've had a 3-week period like that last 3 weeks.
Yeah, unashamedly, it's a difficult 3 weeks. But as I said, this board would not make a decision, and the executive wouldn't make a decision based on 3 weeks. We'd look at the longer-term future and the contribution over a number of years. So were we rattled? I guess it's fair to say we were disappointed by the last 3 weeks, but that had no factor at all in us accepting or not accepting his resignation.
Earlier in the year, you were quite vocal in your support of him. If he had come to you saying, I'm still keen to coach on, there have been an automatic contract?
Yeah, fairly speculative now. This board had a process in place which we were very public around the timetable of, that we'd get it done by the middle of September at the end of the season. That process would have wound up over the next couple of weeks, and I won't preempt that outcome as to what it would or would not have been.
What about the reaction of the club? Were they shocked, the players?
Well, we've only just told the players because it only happened today. We've just told the staff. I think the reaction will be similar to the staff. They were a bit stunned. Because we had a process in place and John was still going through the process of doing his reviews and making sure that he had a presentation ready for the board. And I think it just dawned on him overnight and this morning that the time was right now. So the players are probably coming to grips with it now, albeit it's happened very quickly, but like most things, we need to get it out there so that people are aware of what's happening, and now we need to move on quickly.
Are you surprised, Trevor, personally?
Probably not to some extent, because I just see how hard he works and the time and effort it takes to coach a senior football team does take its toll. It's uncompromising, and you have to give it everything. You're here all day, every waking moment. So I think for, as Elle said, I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't.
That's Johnny's changed his mind.
Yeah. and I'm not surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had it presented to the board, but then said, "Look, this is my presentation, but my hand's up. I'm going." It's the integrity of the bloke, and it always has been.
Are you aware of Matt's public comments via Twitter that he expressed disappointment that he didn't find it, that the players apparently didn't find out before the media did?
The players did find out right on when the media were informed. It was the only way we could do it. He will be like a lot of our players and like a lot of our staff that aren't here today, that we weren't able to inform quickly enough, and John didn't have the opportunity to see the players because they're all on leave. and that's unfortunate. But that's.
How were they notified? By text messages or something?
Gary notified them by text, yes.
I personally spoke to the captain and vice captain as leaders of our club, but as Niz said, we made every effort to contact every player.
So we'll leave it there live at Patterson Stadium. The CEO and the chairman of the West Coast Eagles announcing that John Worsfold will not continue on as coach of the club after 12 years. It is the end of an era. 12 years as a player, premiership captain twice, and of course 12 years as a coach, once premiership coach. And that question there that they were referring to, the word is that unfortunately some of the players were not notified prior to the announcement being made by the media, and as a result Nick Naitanui was the player being questioned there, or rather the question was about Nick Naitanui's tweet saying that he was disappointed to find out after the media. So, just repeating the news, John Worsfold will not be the coach of the West Coast Eagles from next year onwards, ending 12 years as coach of the club. We'll have more, of course, in our bulletins at 5 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. It is a historic day in WA football. We're going to now rejoin our 4 o'clock news.
7 News, the pulse of Perth.